everyone, so today we're looking at notes found on the lines and spaces on the bass clef. This is the bass clef here. At the end of this video I'm going to show you how to draw both the treble clef and the bass clef, but right now let's have a look at what notes can be found on the lines and spaces of the bass clef, and then we'll go into how you look at both reading the bass clef and the treble clef in the grand scheme of things. Here we go. Now to begin with, let's have a look at the bass clef itself, okay? Now it's really important, think of it, the bass clef how you want. It could look like an elephant's ear to some people, or a backwards C with two dots. Doesn't matter, just try and get some image of how it looks like in your head, okay? Now, what's really important is where it begins. It sort of begins with a little bit of a circle and then comes back down, yeah? Now, what's really important is where it begins, that depicts where the other notes are found on this stave. So, if we began the bass clef lower and we started from the next line down, or even further, the last line, that would change the order of notes, okay? So it's really important that it starts on that second to top line, the fourth line up. Okay, that's really important. Now let's have a look at what notes are going to be on the lines. Now we're going to look at learning the bass clef a little bit quicker than what we did with the treble clef. Because if you've learned one, it's just a very similar thing, just the notes are moved a little bit down, and of course these notes are going to be lower in pitch than the treble clef, but that'll make sense at the end of this video. So let's have a look at what notes are going to be found on the lines, okay? So the first line is going to be a G, the second line is going to be a B, the third line up is going to be a D note, the fourth line up is going to be an F, and the last line is going to be an A. So what this means is that if you find any musical note on these lines, okay, that's what note it's going to actually be. So if you find a note on the bottom line, okay, let's just say this, okay, that's smack in the middle and it's on the line, okay, it's on the bottom line, it's going to be a G note. However, if you find another note on the second line up, it's going to be a B. If you find a note sitting on the middle line, it's going to be a D, and then the line above that an F, and then a line above that an A. That's how it works, alright? Now let's have a look at a good acronym for remembering these lines. So let's have a look at a good acronym for remembering what notes are going to be on these lines, okay? So G, B, D, F, A. Great burritos don't fall apart. There's a lot of other ones out there. There's great big dogs, fight always, or fight animals, but I really like great burritos don't fall apart. And that's how you remember the first line's going to be G, second's going to be B, third line's going to be D, next line's going to be F, and the last line is going to be A. Now let's have a look at what notes are going to be in the spaces. Okay, so now let's have a look at what notes are going to be on what spaces. Meaning, if you find a note in the first space, it's going to correspond with this letter. So the first note for the first space on the bass clef is A. The next space up is going to be C, the next space up is E, and the final space in the bass clef is G. And now a good acronym and a good way of remembering this, for me personally, is all cows eat grass. There's so many out there, and maybe even if you can think of a funny one yourself, just try and use it because it'll stick in your mind a little bit better. But for me, all cows eat grass. Meaning again, if you've got any note in the first space on the bass clef, it's going to be an A note. Now this means that you don't have a key signature up. Again, like future knowledge, if you don't have a key signature up or you don't have any accidentals, future knowledge. But if you've just got a normal note, nothing near it, it's going to be an A if it's on the first space, a C on the second space, an E on the third space, and a G on the last space. Okay, now let's have a look at all the notes together. So now I've drawn up all the notes on the lines and the spaces of the bass clef, okay? Really important you remember what clef you're on by having a look at the diagram. Now, if we have a look, all we do is we start on G for the bottom line, and we just go up the musical alphabet. So if we start with G, the first line, then the next space is going to be A. The next line above A is going to be B. The next space is going to be C. The next line, D. The next space, E. The next line, F. The last space is going to be G, and the last line is going to be A. Now if you start with the lines, and that's how I do it, then you've got great burritos don't fall apart. Or if you think of it in terms of spaces and you're trying to remember what notes are in the spaces, all cows eat grass. Remember, there's other acronyms out there. A quick Google search will bring you up some more, or try and think of your own. I mean, I've heard some Eddie Van Halen references and stuff. Pretty funny stuff, so just find something that works for you, okay? Now we're going to have a look at how both staves work together.